One of the things I see missing from most people's bodyweight strength routines or programs is going to be specific glute and hamstring work. And it's true when you do pistol squats, single leg squats, we're doing side to side squats, that stuff does work the entire lower body to a degree. But I like to have a specific progression in there for targeting the glutes and the hamstrings. And the primary reason is that a lot of low back pain, a lot of pain that we deal with as we get older comes from weaknesses within the hip area, specifically in the glutes, glute medius, and also in hamstrings. And so this movement that I'm going to show you is going to be one base movement with just a few little tweaks that you can make to greatly increase the difficulty. So let's get to that. And if you have questions afterwards, ask me and I'll answer in the comments below. I'm going to demonstrate the glute bridge for you, or the glute thrust. Kind of has two different names that it's commonly referred to. And the basic movement is very simple to perform. No one should have problems with it. And then I'm going to show you how you can adjust hand placement to make it more difficult. And then I'm also going to show you how you can adjust the feet to make it much more difficult. So this one exercise or movement with a few small adjustments should be all you need to complement your squat work for glutes and hamstrings. For hamstrings themselves, there is some additional things that we can do, and we'll get into that later in a different video. But let's get to the glute bridge. And what you'll do is you'll sit just like this. You want feet flat on the ground. When you elevate with this movement, what you're going to do is you're going to drive down through the heels, and you're going to contract, you're going to tighten and put tension in the hamstrings and the glutes. So you want to really engage the glutes, engage the hamstrings. And that's something that we talked about before, the mind-muscle connection, the cerebral part of strength training, which most people don't ever look at it that way, but it takes practice. And you can do a squat, or you can do a squat. You can do a glute bridge, or you can do a glute bridge. And what I mean by that is you can be cognizant and you can engage the musculature more, getting more out of the movement than someone else, meaning more strength, more hypertrophy. So how you train, not just that you did the movement, but how you did the movement is really important. And so what you'll do is, and I'll give you a quick example of what I was just talking about. So feet flat, angle about here. You're going to put your hands out to the side for stability. You can rest your head on the floor, and you drive down through the heels. And what you do is you take your hips, posterior pelvic tilt, you push up. Okay, so if you try this along with me, you can do this with very little engagement, and you can just go through the motions, or you can think about the glutes, school bus. You can think about the glutes, you can think about the hamstrings, and before you even start the movement, if you can see what I'm doing, I'm tightening the glutes, tightening the hamstrings, so they're engaged already in like an isometric hold, okay? They're tightened, they're engaged, and now I am pressing down through the floor, keeping this tightened and engaged, pushing the hips up, and then lowering back down. So when you do this movement or any movement, be cognizant of what you're working, think about the mind-muscle connection, and make sure that that particular muscle group, those things that you are working, are under constant tension. It will make everything you do more difficult. So push-ups in a hollow body with a tight core and a tight glutes and quads, they're harder than standard push-ups, but it is an infinitely better full body workout. One of the biggest differences between bodybuilding and what we're doing is we're focusing on building real world strength and the body moving together as a cohesive unit. Now, if you focus on compound lifting and bodybuilding, you can do that too. So they're not mutually exclusive, and I'm not knocking on bodybuilding, but that's probably the biggest foundational difference is everything that we're doing is compound. There's not really any isolation. This would be about as close as we get to isolation, and it's still a compound movement. So I just demonstrated the basic movement with arms out. It's going to be the easiest. You can move arms back like this, and you have less balance and stability, and it will make it just a tad more difficult. From here, what you would do is you would scale to picking up 1 foot like this. And so now you can put your hands back this way, and now you're going to be pressing down. So you can see where I engage the glutes, press down. Okay, hold it for a second and back. Press down, hold it for a second and back. From there, if that is too easy, which I don't think it will be, but if it's too easy, you can actually take the foot that's elevated, move it away from the center of gravity. This is going to engage the core, both posterior, anterior, front and back core, more intensely as you work to balance yourself. Press down through the heel, engage the hamstrings and the glutes, and now you can put your arms out wider for stability if needed to balance yourself. And now you will push up, back down nice and slow. Once you've got that, that leg moved away from center, it's going to be a much more challenging movement. And if you do it slow, like you saw, slow and controlled repetitions, I would be surprised if you can get to 10 or 8 or whatever. So this little series will scale with you for quite some time. And keep in mind, and we'll do a video on order of training the lower body, but I would do your squat work first, and then you're gonna come do this. So you're already going to have pre-fatigued to a degree from squats. So this should be good and challenging, but that's how I would train glutes and hamstrings, utilizing only body weight.